A message from McAfee. Wondering why the post office is texting you or why you owe thousands of dollars in toll fees? Because someone's trying to scam you. The good news? McAfee can help. With McAfee's award-winning scam detection, it's easy to tell what's real and what's fake over text, in your inbox, and online. If they're
You want a free gift?
Seriously? If they're faking it, they're not making it past us. Get award-winning scam detection today. McAfee.com/keepitreal.
Welcome back to I Want That Too, the podcast where Disney merch meets Disney history. I'm entertainment writer Jim Hill, and as always, I'm joined by the lovely Lauren Hersey on a very great November day. I mean, at least up here in New England, it's like one shade.
Well, I was going to greet you by saying Merry Christmas because we're past Halloween, and in my house, we're switching to Christmas. We got Christmas music going, like, so I mean, it may be gray outside, but it's very merry in spirit.
Well, it's so interesting you say that because, again, it's almost at a constitutional level responsibility. Nancy and I were at Target again today, and what was interesting is the bats that were in the entrance there just this past weekend for Halloween are gone, and now we have lovely peppermint red and white streamers with mice on them. So evidently, I don't know, Target got a discount on rodent-related decorations this year, but they're cute. They're cute little mice. So
yes, and did you tell me that there's a not Christmas, but an anniversary that's
Yes, thank you for bringing it up. This show, of course, is posting on Thursday, November 13th, and it turns out on November 13th, 1940, Fantasia, Disney, the concert feature, had its world premiere. In fact, weird little bend on the story, Lauren. Fantasia opened in New York at what was now known as the Broadway Theater, but if we jump back just 12 years to 1928, it was then known as the Old Colony Theater, and this is where Walt, Steamboat Willie debuted in 1928. And for me, it's just fascinating to think that he went from a synchronized sound cartoon to full stereo and a feature length, full stereo in Technicolor in just out of 12 years.
That's because Walt's the man.
There you go. And speaking of the man, somebody who is the man when it comes to writing great books about the features that were done during the first golden age of Disney animation. That's JB Kaufman. And by the way, this past Tuesday, JB's latest book, Worlds to Conquer, The Art and Making of Walt Disney's Fantasia, came out. So that one comes highly recommended, folks. And if you're shopping for somebody who's a Disney fan this holiday season, you can't go wrong with a JB Kaufman book. I'm just saying. But so to now go from Fantasia, the height of the animation art form, to let's talk about what the overall topic of today's show is going to be, Lauren.
Yeah, so we got a big show today, a little unexpected, I would say. So we're going to talk about the newest Disney Lorcana expansion, a set that is bringing some serious deep cuts that I know you're going to love, Jim.
Okay.
And then we're shifting gears from Gothic magic to the mighty Morphin Power Rangers, looking at the legacy, their comeback, downfall, comeback, and a weird tie to Epcot, right?
Yeah, that one, that's a weird story. But again, we'll get to that later in today's show. But before we do that, of course, have to acknowledge our sponsor. And that is, of course, the lovely folks at UnlockedMagic.com, the same trusted team behind DVC Rental Store and DVC Resale Market. And if you're planning a Disney trip, they've got the best deals on Walt Disney World tickets, including the lowest prices on party tickets for Mickey's Very Merry and even Jollywood Night. So visit UnlockedMagic.com to grab the best ticket deals and make your next Disney trip just a little more magical. So Lorcana. Okay, talk to me.
All right. Well, I had to add this in. Two reasons. One, I want to acknowledge a quick note that we got from one of our listeners, Paul. Hey, Paul. He wrote in after our Bed Knobs and Broomsticks episode and said that, one, he was super happy to see that movie getting some extra love.
Well, again, this is Mr. Schneblin. So, hi, Paul. And by the way, if you are in fact a fan of Bed Knobs and Broomsticks, Paul, I want to remind you that I want to say it was 3 years ago, when the stage musical version of Disney's Bed Knobs and Broomsticks tried out in the UK and toured. I don't know if that's made its way stateside yet, but well, Lauren, in fact, you have officially made it 3/4 of the way through the movie at this point. Is that the story you're telling today?
Yes. Well, I wanted to be able to respond to Paul and tell you and our listeners that I had successfully watched the full movie before Halloween. So Halloween night, we came back from trick-or-treating, we turned it on, and it was a big night. So I couldn't make it all the way through, but I am going to get there soon. I'll keep you posted. But thanks, Paul and Jim, for keeping me honest. But on another note, so Paul mentioned something else in his note, and it was about Lorcana, and he said that he's still not entirely sure how to play, but he mentioned he loves the artwork so much and hopes that maybe Disney Publishing will eventually do like an Art of Lorcana book so that, fans can see all that went into the beautiful design work up close. So if anybody is listening from Disney Publishing, we've got some folks that would gladly buy the book.
Wow, no, that's a great idea. And I would actually, I would buy a copy of that for my reference library.
Yes. All right. So, but it's good timing that we're talking about Lorcana because, like I alluded to at the top of the show, there is a new expansion. And this one is called Whispers in the Well. And even if you've never played Lorcana, I have not, but from what I understand, this one has some seriously deep cuts, which are the Black Cauldron and Gargoyles.
Wow. Okay. Now that's interesting because, Black Cauldron is like at the back of the Disney vault. Though worth noting, Neil O'Brien just did that wonderful book After Disney, which, takes a really close look at the making of that film. On the other hand, Gargoyles, every so often you hear the folks on, live action side of Disney who have looked at that a couple of times about, do we want to take this animated film or animated series from the 80s, 90s, and do a live action thing. But anyway, all right. So Whispers in the Well.
Yeah. So the set includes a completely new card type actually called Whispers, and they're these like ghostly half-form versions of familiar Disney characters, and the idea is that they've been pulled from a damaged lore book, so players have to piece together where they came from.
Okay, that's all right. That's intriguing, and certainly building some story into the collecting aspect there.
Yeah, and there's also another new game mechanic called a boost, which lets you unlock the Whisper's full ability. But honestly, going back, even if you don't play, like we talked about, the cards are stunning. Like the artwork is really impeccable, and I have that box of them here, and that's what I like to look at. But they also are including their first of 3 new super rare cards. And like, Jim, I don't know if you know this, but super rare is actually like a real phrase that like collectors have, like Miles has like with Pokemon or whatever. So the super rare cards are the Cheshire Cat, which is inexplicable, Little John, Impermanent Outlaw, and Fairy Godmother, the Magical Benefactor. So that's what's new in Lorcana.
All right, so to pivot back to the Black Cauldron, we've got Lorcana cards for Taran, Ilanwi, I believe that's how you pronounce her name, Gurgi, and of course the Horn King. And these are coming into the game for the first time. Plus, on the Gargoyles side of the fence, we've got Goliath, our lead character, and Demona, who was the antagonist of the show. So again, kind of nice to see Disney, as you mentioned, doing these deep cuts, reaching deep down into the bin, so to speak.
But, I mean, they are throwing in Zootopia's Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde. They're making appearances as detectives in the game. So we got some deep cuts. We've got some newish characters with the Zootopia 2 coming out really soon.
Now, speaking of which, didn't I hear that, I forget which theater it is, that if you buy a ticket to Zootopia 2 for its opening weekend, you get our Lorcana card with Nick and Judy on it. Do you remember that?
I do not remember that, but I'm going to have to look it up now.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Well, we got some time before, that opens in theaters November 26th. Okay, folks, we'll do the research and get back to you.
If you're interested, this Whispers in the Well goes on sale November 14th. Anywhere you can get your cards.
Okay, well, cool. All right. So we now go from gothic magic to Morphin power. So, all right, the Power Rangers. Let's talk about those today.
All right. So, kicking off with something that made my inner 90s child giddy, because, I mean, the Power Rangers were a big part of my childhood, Eric's childhood. And so the news that came out this week that there are reports of out of Japan saying the Super Sentai, which was the series that inspired Power Rangers, might actually be coming to an end after 50 years.
Wow, they have been around since 1975? Oh, wow. I mean, let's be honest here, given the characters coming and going from the franchise and that sort of thing, this is the Japanese equivalent of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, only, with slightly more helmets and explosions.
Yeah. And I mean, so here's the crazy thing, since this is a merch podcast, that according to the Japanese media, that it's declining merchandise and event sales that have made the production of this thing unsustainable. And the broadcaster, TV Asahi, hadn't officially confirmed the show's fate yet, but this is what insiders are saying, that the current season could be the last.
Wow. And that is crazy when you think about how much this franchise used to print money. I mean, when the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers debuted in the United States in syndication back in 1993, I mean, it was lightning in a bottle, literally. Ham Saban took the Super Sentai footage, added American teens with a little attitude, and created one of the biggest toy crazes of the decade.
Yes, and I mean, last night we were actually just searching for videos on YouTube, about the Power Rangers craze, because Eric and I both remember people lining up outside of Toys R Us at dawn to try to find the pink, red, white Ranger. And there was even a New York Times article in 94 about the Power Ranger shortage, and that moms and dads are basically scalping power morphers in the parking lots, just trying to get what their kids needed or wanted, I guess, for Christmas. Do you remember that?
Oh, well, yeah. And, I mean, it was a multi-billion-dollar franchise back in the day. Toys, lunchboxes, VHS tapes, cereal. Even Disney got in on the game. It came by way of their acquisition of the Family Channel, which, the Family Channel at some point had cut a deal with Ham Saban, and so Disney, by proxy, gets the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and 6 new seasons of the show are then produced out of they had a studio at the point in New Zealand.
Yeah, and like I always forgot that Power Rangers were technically a part of the Disney family for a minute. But I mean, that's really how deep this runs. And I'm sure there's listeners that didn't know that, either.
Well, okay, so now here we are 50 years later, and the same thing that made Mighty Morphin Power Rangers a hit is what now appears to be slowing it down, and that's merch sales. And so the story goes that kids just aren't buying the figures and Zords like they used to. It's a whole different entertainment landscape these days, and Sentai's toy-based model just isn't hitting the same way that it did back in the 90s.
Which, I mean, probably explains why collectors are suddenly losing their collective minds over vintage Power Rangers. Like, I don't know if you've looked at the prices, but they are going for absolutely insane prices on the eBay scene, the resale market.
Okay, so how insane are we talking here?
Really insane. Like, so a sealed Power Morpher from 1994 is going for around 50 grand online.
Oof.
Right?
Oof. Okay.
And then the White Ranger action figure signed by Jason David Frank, over $100,000. And I feel like that one might make sense. Didn't he pass away?
Jeez, I don't know. I mean, the interesting thing is Nancy and I want to say it was 2 years ago now, did 90s Con. I want to say when it was down in Hartford. And it was fascinating to watch like the cast members of Buffy or that sort of thing. But the longest lines actually were for, the Power Rangers who'd come out to the show. And it was fascinating to see the folks standing there in line, old, bald, white guys like me, clutching their toys in their original boxes. So, again, more power to the Power Rangers who actually ignored their parents and kept the toys in the package, a mint condition.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just a reminder that nostalgia is a big business. And so apparently is keeping your toys in mint condition.
Now, okay, but the funny thing, Lauren, about this franchise is even with the talk of it winding down in Japan, the fandom is anything but dead here in the States.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I think that it's having a moment again. Kids love the stuff we talked about a couple shows ago that feels retro, like VHS filters, like flannel shirts, 8-bit music, like any of the old like IPs. And so Power Rangers fits the vibe perfectly, I believe, for what's going on right now.
Okay. And it for me, it's always fascinating to see what what people get nostalgic for. I mean, I'm still trying to wrap my head around folks in their teens and 20s like, ooh, I have a BlackBerry. It's like, really?
It's cool.
So what else have you noticed?
Yeah, so I mean, Eric and I were at Walmart the other day. We're getting new tires, and while we were waiting, of course, we're like wandering around the toy aisles, and I mean, like there was a huge section of Power Rangers merch.
Okay, so what did Eric say?
Oh my gosh, he's losing his mind. Like he was it was crazy. So he's like, oh, I had this one when I was a kid, and like I know that we had all the guys, like we had all the Power Ranger stuff, but like he remembered the specifics, like Die Hard. And so what is back now is they're called Reignition, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Reignition, and so they're the ones that they have like two heads that like they have a button on the back. You push the button and it's the Power Ranger with the helmet, and then you push the button again and then it's like the actual guy's head. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you go to Target, they have a whole pack with all 6 Rangers, and that one is like $60, I think.
Oh man, I should have gone over and checked that out today when we were in the store. But again, it's just funny they didn't reinvent the wheel.
You'll be back tomorrow.
There we go. This is true. All right. So, all right. And again, just it's so funny. Again, Eric chiming in, because face it, that's the thing. As an adult, looking back at your childhood, it's like, well, did you have them all? Did you manage to get them all?
Yeah, but it's not just older folks like us reliving their childhood. The young kids are in on it too. Last month, Miles, there was a new Fortnite skin that was released, and it was, I believe, the Green Ranger. And I mean, he acted like he could not survive another day if he didn't get it. It was one of those Saturday morning at 5:30 bets. Mom, wake up, the Green Ranger's back. The Green Ranger. I'm like, do you know who the Green Ranger is?
Oh, I love that. That's a great story.
But that's what it is. So, between the toy aisles, Target exclusives, Fortnite, and then there is a new Lego Megazord set coming out sometime, I believe next year. And it is over 1,200 pieces, and it's coming out at $160. So I don't think Power Rangers are going anywhere anytime soon stateside.
Okay. And by the way, just to remind folks who pay attention to these sorts of things, if we jump back 20 or 30 years, Toho Studios did the exact same thing with Godzilla. I want to say for the 50th anniversary of that, I remember he debuted in 54. They announced, we're retiring Godzilla, that we've run out of films to make, and blah, 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 blah. And if you think now, Godzilla is bigger than ever. So, just be ready, folks, that the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, that this retirement, so to speak, may be a little shorter than you think. But anyway, speaking of looking back at, when the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers got started, and again, they debuted in syndication here in the States in 94. There was an interesting thing that happened at a Disney park in 93, which we're going to discuss on the show after this ad break.
Hello, I'm Chris Cox, and I've teamed up with Len Tester to argue before our judge, Jim Hill, as he presides over us on our new podcast, The Case For with Chris Cox. In every episode, Len and I will argue about the big Disney debates like park hopping, early entry, and whether churros count as a food group. Whether you're planning a trip or just love Disney debates, it's the perfect podcast for you. Search The Case For with Chris Cox wherever you get your podcasts.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. This Monday night, witness the end of an era. John Cena takes center stage for his final appearance ever on Monday Night Raw. One last match, one unforgettable farewell. Come celebrate the legacy of a true WWE legend. Monday Night Raw, November 17th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time, only on Netflix. Be there for the moment everyone will be talking about.
The Lincoln Wishlist sales event is happening now. Here's what's on everyone's wish list. Enjoying holiday jingles with brilliant 3D audio that surrounds you? Check. Watching snow flurries through the panoramic vista roof? Check. Packing up presents with the spacious Lincoln Splitgate? Check. Everything you want. All standard on the 2025 Lincoln Navigator SUV. Visit your local Lincoln retailer or learn more at Lincoln.com for exceptional offers on 2025 Lincoln vehicles today.
Every day, thousands of Comcast engineers and technologists like Olu Shei are working to build the best sports viewing experience.
Some of my favorite moments throughout my life are watching sports with my dad. Now I work at Comcast as part of the team that created our AI highlights technology, which uses AI to detect the major plays in a sports game.
And now, millions of sports fans will never miss a moment. Visit ComcastCorporation.com/sports to learn more.
Okay, folks, so we're back, and on the heels of Lauren's, wonderful reporting there about what's going on with the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, I want to tell the story about something that happened at Epcot Center back in 1993, which is the year before the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers officially made their stateside television debut. And to be specific, we're going to talk about how out ahead of that TV series debuting in syndication here, it was on Fox Kids, Lauren, fall of 94. A character which Power Ranger fans would immediately recognize as Rita Repulsa, the longtime villain for that TV series, would make her debut at a Disney theme park. Now, mind you, Lauren, I want to stress right here, this happened without the permission of Ham Saban, which did not make these folks happy with the mouse, which is one of the reasons why Splash-tacular, which debuted at Epcot back in November of 1993, in fact, 32 years ago this month, Lauren, was one of the shortest-lived live shows to ever be presented in a Disney theme park. It shut down in June of 94, just 8 months after Splash-tacular first began being staged on the Fountain of Nations stage at Epcot Center. So how does this happen, Lauren? Well, our story starts in late 1992, which is when the Disney World Resort is wrapping up its 15th month-long 20th anniversary celebration. By the way, started on October 1st, 1991, and then officially wrapped December 31st, 1992. And so, all right, here we are, January of 1993, and Lauren, the managers at Epcot are facing a pretty dire situation. And this is because if you take the 30,000-foot view, the most recent additions to Epcot at that time, there was the Norway Pavilion. That had opened in June of 1988, so, that's 4+ years earlier. And then there was the Wonders of Life and Health Pavilion. That opened in October of 89. So, again, 4 years or thereabouts. And so, but this park has had no new attractions of size since then. And so, which means that guests who come to this theme park, or come to the Walt Disney World Resort, really don't have a compelling reason to go over to Epcot. More to the point, Epcot managers knew at that point that 3 previously announced, heavily hyped, proposed additions to this theme park. There was the Russian Pavilion, the Swiss Pavilion, which, by the way, was going to come with an East Coast version of the Matterhorn bobsleds from Disneyland, and also the Mount Fuji coaster, which was actually going to be built behind Epcot's Japanese Pavilion. These managers knew at this point, yep, these things are not going to happen. These projects will not be moving forward. And more to the point, negotiations at that point for the Space Pavilion had stalled again. So now, again, January of 93, Epcot managers are really regretting their decision to shut down Surprise in the Skies. This was their daytime show, Lauren. It was a weird daytime show where they had ultralights with the characters, Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Goofy, flying over World Showcase Lagoon, while what they referred to as terror boats, roared around the lagoon. A very weird show. Anyway, that opened September of 91. They close it 1 year later, September of 92. And that at least compelled people to come over to Epcot during the day, which helped with foot traffic at the restaurants. So now, this is what's making the Walt Disney World entertainment team think, all right, we need to get a new daytime show into Epcot and fast. And again, just a reminder, this is late winter, early spring of 1993 when all of this is going down, Lauren. And we were just talking about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Secret Sentai, which of course is a Japan thing. Well, Worth noting here that Tokyo Disneyland is about to celebrate its 10th anniversary. That park opened in April of 1983. And what they decided to do to celebrate this is they staged an elaborate daytime pageant out in front of that theme park's version of Cinderella Castle. And the show, Lauren, was called It's Magical. And again, there's a theme to today's show, folks, and it's borrowing. And what was interesting about the new daytime show for Tokyo Disneyland is that it borrowed from Disneyland's then brand new Fantasmic, which had opened just the year previous in May of 1992. And when I say borrowed, the finale of It's Magical is pretty much the same finale as Fantasmic, in that Mickey first confronts Maleficent. That's the dark fairy character from Sleeping Beauty, and then that Disney villain, in response, transforms herself into a giant dragon. So, okay, It's Magical opens at Tokyo Disneyland April 15th, 1993, and gets this huge, enthusiastic response from the folks in Japan. So much so that the entertainment team at Walt Disney World are like, all right, let's bring that show to Epcot immediately. But there are veterans who work in the entertainment department who are like, wait a minute, It's Magical is a castle show. I mean, they do it in front of Cinderella Castle. I don't know if you've looked around Epcot lately. We don't have a castle. Where is this going to go? And the entertainment department confers amongst itself and comes back, don't worry about it. All right, well, here's what we'll do. We'll stage it in front of the Fountain of Nations, which is that giant fountain in the middle of the park in between the two Communicore buildings. And people who are watching it can stand at the edge and see the show. And then, but there's a follow-up question. It's like, wait a minute. It's Magical borrows the whole Mickey battling Maleficent after he becomes a dragon thing from Disneyland's Fantasmic, which you and I both know we are bringing to Walt Disney World very, very soon. In fact, for about 5 minutes after Fantasmic opened in May of 1992, there were discussions of doing the same thing, bringing that nighttime pageant to Florida's Magic Kingdom and basically doing the exact same thing, staging it on the rivers of America, using the riverboat for the finale and using the rafts that go to Tom Sawyer's Island, for like the Jungle Book and the Beauty and the Beast and the Little Mermaid moment. But it was at this point that the people who actually ran that theme park, it's like, whoa. We can't do that. Literally, the parade route for our theme park, has to pass through where the people would need to stand to watch Fantasmic if we did it on the rivers of America at the Magic Kingdom in Florida. And people typically line up hours ahead of time. It's like, no, we can't do that. You have to find a different place to stage this, and this is ultimately why Fantasmic winds up being staged over at Hollywood Studios, Lauren. In fact, very early on, the show was actually known as Fantasmic Hollywood. But anyway, getting back to, the entertainment folks at Epcot are like, look, no, we can't do It's Magical, especially that part with Maleficent and Mickey fighting, because Fantasmic is coming to Florida. Got to find something different to do here. So, Lauren, this brings us to the moment where a Walt Disney World entertainment executive, while they're in their hotel room in Tokyo, turns on the television and catches an episode of Super Sentai. And the rest of the story, Lauren, we'll tell on the other side of this break.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana lets you buy your next car on your terms. Explore a massive inventory online, filter for what matters, and find your perfect match. Then choose delivery to your home or pick it up at one of Carvana's iconic car vending machines. Every car also comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can make sure it's the right fit. Buy your car on Carvana. Delivery or pickup fees may apply. Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Carvana. Hey there, it's Dr. Sanjay Gupta with some exciting news to share. CNN is now streaming. That means you can read, watch, and stream everything in one subscription. You can watch news live 24/7. You can also explore catch-up videos and explainer videos, and you can also watch the library of CNN's originals, including my latest documentary, It Doesn't Have to Hurt. Just go to cnn.com/all-access.
And we're back. All right, Lauren, just to recap here, Walt Disney World executives are seriously considering bringing It's Magical, Tokyo Disneyland daytime show, staged in front of that park's Cinderella Castle for the celebrating the park's 10th anniversary, and featured Mickey doing battle with Maleficent after she turned herself into a dragon. But again, they can't replicate that moment in Epcot's version of It's Magical because, plans are already in the works to bring Fantasmic from Disneyland to Florida. So it's up to the folks in entertainment. Well, what are we going to do? What are we going to do about this? And as I mentioned before the break, we have our Disney World Entertainment executive in their hotel room in Tokyo that they've flown over to actually see It's Magical stage in front of Cinderella Castle. And he's in his hotel room, and an episode of Super Sentai comes on. And this is where this guy gets a glimpse of a character that when Mighty Morphin Power Rangers first began being broadcast here in the States, by the way, August of 93, would be known as Rita Repulsa. She was this evil alien sorceress who, according to the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger mythology, had only just recently been released from 10,000 years of confinement and was now determined to conquer Earth because she's cranky. You lock somebody up for 10,000 years. They get cranky. So when it came to replacing Maleficent in the Florida version of It's Magical, it was one of these things where it's like, well, that's kind of a sci-fi take on Maleficent. She's an evil space, space sorceress. Why don't we do something like that? Why don't we, do a character like this woman in the Super Sentai thing? And by the way, Lauren, the other weird bend on this is, remember, part of the Fantasmic show is Maleficent turns into a dragon. Well, what they decided to do for the Epcot version of, again, It's Magical is, and look, this is the other thing that kind of got them in trouble with Ham Saban. Instead of Maleficent as a dragon, they created this giant mechanical prop, Lauren, that was called a Terrorsaur, which, and by the way, you can go online right now and watch this entire show on YouTube. And when the Terrorsaur makes its appearance, you'll look at it and go, wow, that is like a Megazord and a T-Rex had a baby. And anyway, okay, so that they're hurrying to get this into the park. Because remember, attendance has cratered after the 20th anniversary stuff at Walt Disney World has wrapped up, and they don't have any new shows of size at Epcot Center. So, they're moving at speed, and nobody seems to be realizing that, Super Sentai, the U.S. broadcast rights have been sold to Fox Kids, and that it is going to start appearing on, across the country, every afternoon starting at 4. But anyway, here we go. Florida version of It's Magical opens on November 20th, 1993. And by the way, Lauren, that's just 7 months and 5 days after the Tokyo Disneyland original version of this show opens in front of their Cinderella Castle. And what the folks at Epcot do to differentiate themselves between It's Magical and what they're doing there in Future World is they call this show Splash-tacular because it's being staged around the Fountains of Nations. And got to tell you, Lauren, in hindsight, not a smart move. And by the way, again, if you go over and watch this show on YouTube, you're going to see that it's a huge cast. I mean, there's more than 50 people on stage at some points in the show, and a good number of them are supposed to be what are known as Future World guards. And Lauren, what that means is they're stomping around in suits of armor that, by the way, all of the little pieces of the suits of armor are Mickey shaped. But they're also on stilts. And, okay, I want to stress here that Splash-tacular is being staged in front of the Fountains of Nations and again, in the courtyard space between Communicore, East and West. And anybody who remembers of visiting Epcot back in the day, it got windy back there because of the way these buildings were shaped, which means, and this water fountain would shoot the water at some points in the show, Lauren, 150 feet in the air. But thanks to the wind, it wouldn't come down back on the fountain. It would come back down on the stage. So you have performers on stilts stomping around. You have cast members dressed as Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and the rest of the Fab Five. And again, when you're a rubberhead, when you have very poor vision inside of your Mickey head, and you're walking around on a slick, wet stage. So there's a lot of people who fell down during this show and hurt themselves. All right, and worse, Lauren, that this you'll love. All right, by the way, it's worth it to compare and contrast, and there are a number of videos of It's Magical at Tokyo Disneyland. But the conceit of this show was Maleficent shows up to steal the colors. And the performers are all wearing these intriguing outfits that can unfold and show that, oh, I'm red, or oh, I'm blue. But when Maleficent comes and steals the colors, people can fold their outfits and suddenly they're gray. But at the same time, if you're standing in Tokyo Disneyland in front of the castle and Maleficent is threatening to steal the colors, you can look around you and go, oh, yeah, all right, this is a theme park full of colors. Okay, I get that. On the other hand, those of you who remember what Communicore was like back in the gray, or back in the day, and it was gray, it was beige. And I always thought it was funny because the Rita Repulsa character would show up and do the exact same thing. I'm here to steal your colors. And it's like, I always thought there should be a moment where she says, I'm here to, oh, somebody already took them. Oh, I am so sorry. All right, hang on. I'll let me get out of here. My mistake. Don't mind me. But anyway, look, there were a lot of reasons that this daytime show didn't work in the space at Epcot, and not just all the performers slipping and falling. There was that other issue, the borrowing of Rita Repulsa. And by the way, a word does eventually get back to Ham Saban. And so quietly through back channels, their people contact Disney's people and say, hey, that evil alien sorceress you have in your Splash-tacular show at Epcot, she looks an awful lot like our Rita Repulsa. I don't suppose if we asked nice here, you'd be willing to change that part of your daytime show, because otherwise we're going to need to see you guys in court. And By the way, never came to that. Hamster taking Disney to court. Again, splash-tacular. Almost, 6 weeks in, Lauren, already people at Disney World, it's like, oh, this is a disaster. So Disney doesn't change the Rita Repulsa character. They opt to pull the plug on Splashtacular entirely. Last time this was presented inside of that theme park, June 11th, 1994, some 8 months after it had debuted, whereas the original It's Magical at Tokyo Disneyland, it ran, a full run of the show. It was their 10th anniversary show, and it ran for a full year. Though, what's also interesting, and again, I want to encourage folks, if you got the time, go take a look at It's Magical in front of Cinderella Castle, because it turns out they didn't just borrow the Maleficent turning into a dragon thing from Fantasmic. They also borrowed the end of Sorcery in the Sky from Disney MGM. I mean, how many of you remember this, where when that show ended, and by the way, Lauren, interesting circle back to the beginning of today's show, the end of that show paid tribute to Fantasia. And as that show ended, on the roof of the Chinese theater, this giant inflatable of Mickey dressed as the Sorcerer's Apprentice appeared on the rooftop, and for the last beat of the music, fireworks shot out of his fingertip. And, and again, the Tokyo, the entertainment team at Tokyo Disneyland came over for the debut of that show. By the way, happened May 29th, 1990, first anniversary of the opening of Disney MGM. And they were like, ooh, we want that too. So, so it's like, if you watch that show today, it's like, wow, okay, so I get to, it's a twofer. I get to see Fantasmic in Tokyo, and I get to see, Sorcery in the Sky. But, anyway, final little weird bend on this story, and we were just talking about Disney MGM. It's just 8 years after Splashtacular ends at Epcot, that the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers actually begin making daily appearances inside of Disney Studio Theme Park. They're doing meet and greets. They appear in the parades. And again, as we mentioned earlier on in the show, this is because the Mouse acquired theme park rights to these characters thanks to their acquisition of the Family Channel. And they were in the park, Lauren, through 2010, though in that entire time, because Disney was still kind of smarting from, effectively getting their wrist slapped by Ham Saban, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers came into the park. In fact, you'd regularly see the roster change as new characters would come and go from the lineup, but we never got Rita Repulsa. But anyway, so there you go. That there was, in fact, a Disney Power Ranger tie, and the story started well before they started making appearances in the park.
Well, another incredible Mighty Morphin story, Jim. It was a little left. We're going to get back to Christmas and holidays and everything, I'm sure, soon. Mm-hmm. But anyways, on that note, I do think it's time we close up shop for today.
I agree. Okay. And by the way, folks, if you want to keep up with everything happening across the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network, please follow us on social. And don't forget to check out our Patreon for bonus shows and early access.
Yeah. And if you've got questions or an idea, we'd love to hear from you. Send us a message. Jim's at jim@jimhillmedia.com. I'm at laurenhersey.com.
Oh, and if you like the show, leave us a quick rating, a review. It helps other Disney fans find I Want That Too.
All right. On that note, I think that does it for I Want That Too. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.